And so there's a lot of things that we believe that we do that are actually not the best. And so I love helping people to understand money, to relate to it better. I really want there to be less fear and stress around money and resistance, it's kind of fighting against it, and more embracing it as something that will help you in your life. Your relationship with money matters. I'm Michelle Perkins, and this is the Money and You podcast, where I will be breaking down your relationship with money, offering tough love money tips, and a money dating plan that will focus on lifting the barriers to success to help pave the way for better money practices and increased wealth. It's time to take control to live a limit-free life. It starts today. Hello, and welcome to the Money and You show. I'm Michelle Perkins, your host. We're doing a solo show today on myths about money because things have been coming up and inspiring me to talk about that. So I know that we as humans are sort of driven by our subconscious minds and our habits and our patterns that are, set into motion like a groove in a record. And we don't always look at these things critically. And so there's a lot of things that we believe that we do that are actually not the best. And so I love helping people to understand money, to relate to it better. I really want there to be less fear and stress around money and resistance, it's kind of fighting against it, and more embracing it as something that will help you in your life, will go alongside you, helping you to build your goals and dreams. This isn't really about money. It's about actually what money can do for you, the freedom and security and confidence and peace and success and contribution, all the things that you can do with money once you have it. Having it is something that we talk about a lot because that is not an automatic. That is something we need to put practices into place, and we need to learn something about having it and actually keeping it. There are so many myths out there, and so I think it's really fun to talk about things like, if you're a great earner, you might think that that's enough. But I can tell you there are so many great earners out there who don't keep their money. So this is where we want to build a relationship with money. It's, if you see money coming in and then running away all the time, something's going on, just like in another relationship that you might have. You've got to pay attention to that. There is something amiss when money doesn't stick around with you. I love just continuing to see money as a relationship. And if you put it in that context, if it were a relationship with a person, you would probably think about that and see what you could do. When it's money, a lot of times people just go out there and go, I just need to earn more. I mean, thought I was earning a lot, and I was earning a lot, but I guess it wasn't enough. I've got to go out there and just earn a different way or earn more money. When a lot of times people are good earners, and the problem is just that they're not doing anything to keep that money around. There's a myth that if the money comes in, it's almost a myth that it's going to sit there and stay. I was recently talking to somebody who said, the balance in his account had gone down to a level that put him, into some stress. And he was like, I don't know what happened. I mean, 4 months ago, I had these big sales and I had all this money in the bank, as if that money doesn't get used. And that was sort of a myth on his part, that money sticks around. If you have a business, you know for sure that your money is coming and going. It's just a constant flow. There's expenses and revenue comes in, money goes out. So it's actually a bit of an art form to extract out some money for yourself or for savings or whatever it is that you need. If you just sit there and wait around, there isn't going to be this crazy buildup of excess money. Maybe if you're very lucky, anything's possible. But typically what happens is people earn and they are paying attention to one side of the equation. So just because you're earning a lot of money doesn't necessarily mean that you are, creating more money for yourself, basically. So let's talk about a few other myths around money. A myth today that maybe is a little different than it used to be is that if you have children, that at some point those kids are going to reach a certain age and they're going to be adults, and all of a sudden you're able to change your budget and live differently because those expenses are going away. So I think we still kind of live under this myth that around 18, 19, maybe 20, all of a sudden we don't have the child-related expenses that we once did. And I think the world has changed, and yet some of these beliefs kind of hang on longer than they should. So the world has significantly changed in that regard. And that's not to say that kids can't work and kids can't earn money. Some of them are earning amazing money, more than me. So, there's more than a lot of people I know. So there are kids out there who are becoming entrepreneurs or are doing certain things that are, and they're just doing really, really well. That said, the majority of kids today cannot really go out and be fully financially independent at the age that we still have locked in our brains. And I think it's good to plan on that. I think it's good to plan accordingly, knowing that even if kids aren't living at home, the chances are they're going to need some financial assistance, given the way rentals are today and everything else. I mean, the cost of everything is enormously higher than it used to be. Very hard to find that $500 apartment in a decent area that I could do when I was, in my 20s. So I just think as far as planning goes, we don't necessarily plan for that. We still plan for things that don't really exist anymore. So when you're budgeting, for example, keep in mind that there will still be a budget for your children's expenses, I would say long into their 20s. And if they don't need it, great. That's terrific. That's extra money, for you. But I think in terms of planning, we might as well plan that way. It's a conservative way to go. There is a decent probability that children will need that money, if you can do it. Obviously, if you can't, you can't. I understand that. So this doesn't apply to everybody. But if you are a parent who is already providing for your child, instead of assuming that that's going to end at whatever age you have in your mind, I think I would probably add several years to that and continue to plan accordingly. So I would also say, so that's children. I would also say the same for retirement. If you've been planning for a long time to retire at the old age that we all have burned into our brains, like 65, I would rethink that too, because planning is really important with money. I mean, everything is predicated on these plans. How long are you going to save? When are you going to take Social Security? There's all kinds of things that we want to plan for. And I think, while maybe that was a plan of yours years ago to retire at a certain age, I would also adjust that. I would say your retirement age may be, now, again, there are exceptions. I know people retiring at 40. You know what? Cool. But for the majority of people, there is a chance, given the ups and downs of life and the world, and potentially having lost some things in a recession like 2009, 10, perhaps you were out of work during the pandemic. A lot of things happen today that maybe are different than in previous years. People used to change jobs far less than they do now. So there's more kind of, you could look at that two ways. There's more downtime if you're laid off and not working for a little while. There's also, when you change jobs a lot, the potential for higher earnings, because when you move to a new job, you usually earn more than you did in your previous job. So, and that could be a higher increase than it would be just waiting for raises, staying in the same place. So, that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. There's more potential actually in the way people are doing it now, if they're not out of work for too long, to keep changing companies. However, people are more interested in enjoying their life. And so to that end, people change industries too. And some people will have to start kind of in a new industry, maybe at a lower level. So anything can happen. It's a freer experience, I think, work today than it used to be, in terms of people choosing to do things that matter to them, or choosing to change careers when maybe they felt more limited in that way in earlier years. So to me, that's a great aspect of today's world. That said, people are not necessarily retiring as early. And that could be for two reasons. That could be they can't. That could be they don't want to. I mean, there's a lot of evidence to show that working in your older years actually keeps you healthier, keeps your mind sharper, keeps you happier. So I'm all about working if you enjoy what you do, or even switching to something that you enjoy more in your older years. So really give some thought. This whole idea that, you work 40 years and then, at some point at 60 or 65 or 68, you retire. I think that's a myth. I think retirement is something that you figure out on your own these days, and you plan accordingly. So, if you don't have savings in, as much as you want, when are you planning? The people I know are pretty much planning to work until 70, at least. So, I'm going through a little Rolodex of people in my mind. So, I think that the myth about retiring at a certain age, I think that's gone. I think you decide the age, and then I think you plan. Again, you budget and you plan accordingly. Let's talk a little about how you spend time with money. This was really what sparked the idea for this, is I was speaking with a couple that I had worked with, and it's mid-year, right? We're in July. So I don't know about you, but it's a really good time to kind of do a little mid-year assessment on where you are with your money. If you were going to try to get out of debt, did you do it? Have you worked on it? Where are you? If you were trying to save more, where are you with that? Did you ever start it? You can start it now if you haven't. So kind of go back to those money goals that you may have set and see where you're at. Do a little mini review of yourself. So there's a couple that I had worked with, and I was talking to them saying, maybe we want to see if there's some new things that you want to be doing. And they basically said, oh yeah, we're on a roll. We're doing the stuff that we talked about, and we're making things happen. And I don't think we really need to talk because we're just doing it. And there's nothing new to talk about. And of course, I get it. I get it when you're kind of on a roll. You feel like you're in a new habit. You're doing it. So you just kind of don't want to rock the boat there or introduce anything new. But if you look at money as a relationship, you don't want a relationship to get stagnant. You don't want to just be in certain habits in a relationship and just keep doing it. You want it to evolve. You want it to grow. You want it to get better. So you're always working on that next thing that you could introduce, that next fun adventure you could have in your relationship. So I feel like money is the same thing. So if you feel like you're in a groove, that's great. That was the goal at some point, but now we need new goals. We need to keep doing that potentially, but we need to add in some additional spice into your relationship. We need to bring something new in to learn or to incorporate into what you're doing. So we don't want to get in that groove. Oops, dropped my pen. Where we are thinking, okay, I'm doing it now. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. That would get boring in a relationship, and it's going to not be as advantageous as you want in your money relationship. So definitely don't get into the myth of, once I start doing the things that I said I would do, I'm done, or I don't have to pay attention to it anymore. This is a relationship. You have to pay attention to it all the time to keep readdressing. So, we mentioned having money goals. If you haven't set any money goals, that's another thing. Money operates like other projects. You want to know where your end game is. Where are you trying to get to? And then you want to reverse engineer that and take steps and have a plan. Sometimes we don't plan as well around money. We put some things in motion. Sometimes we don't have actual goals. I think it's a myth that money is just you're going to do a few things and money is just going to grow on its own. It's all going to work out for you. So dismiss that myth, because you need goals, you need plans, and you need to keep adjusting those plans. So the other thing that I think is a myth is a lot of people are in professions, or they go to college, they get to a certain point and they think and they work in whatever their expertise is, and they think, I'm really good at what I do. I'm a really good doctor. I'm a really good lawyer. I'm a really good writer, whatever it is. And there's a myth that if you're skilled enough and talented enough and you work hard enough, that somehow that's all going to translate into money. And I just think it's really important to understand the separation. Money is a different game. It's something else that you have to learn and manage, in addition to your career and your profession that is bringing in the money. So, that's how you earn the money, by being that really great lawyer. And it's great. The more talented you are, in theory, the more clients you're going to have and the more money you're going to bring in. But this whole money piece here, again, it comes back to bringing money in and having a strategy for that, and then having a strategy for what happens to that money once it's in. Okay, so it is not true that just by virtue of you being super good at something, that is not going to automatically create money and wealth. And this is like a whole separate set of strategies and actions and ideas that you're implementing over here. So there's your profession, your work that you want to become an expert in, and then you want to become an expert in money as well, so that you can manage it in a way that does help you reach these goals. So sometimes I feel like people have this mindset that it's an automatic. Do well enough, money will appear. And there was that old saying, what was it? Do what you love and money will follow. Well, I get it. I get what she's talking about. Like, you don't have to do things you hate. You can do things you love and you can still make money. But it doesn't just happen that it just follows. And so I felt like that was doing people a disservice to think that you do what you love and money somehow. I mean, I wish money followed. It'd be fun to see it just trailing after you, but that's not really the way it works. So I think we really have to understand that money is this relationship that is separate, that you are incorporating into all the other aspects of your life, but you deal with it separately as if it were another relationship. So let's look at it that way and kind of dispel the myth that if you are a fill in the blank who is very talented, money is going to appear. That's definitely a myth. I wish it were true. So then there are these beliefs too, that if you are positive and grateful and you are constantly visualizing yourself with money and abundance, that is enough, or that you have enough faith, or that money is an interesting thing, because while you do need that, while you do need to be envisioning yourself in abundance, while you do need to be grateful for what you have to attract more in, I believe in all of these kind of rules of manifestation and universal laws. But money is also something that is somewhat tangible and real. You can call it energy, you can say whatever you want, but there is a reality to what is in your bank account. So this whole idea that, I'm going to book a vacation, I'm going to, get a bigger apartment, to buy this car, whatever it is, if the data doesn't support it very well, then I think it's important to still believe, but it's also important to take the actions necessary and to work with the reality that is your situation, whatever that might be. And the goal is then to improve that situation. So it's a balancing act between believing in something and still taking actions. And I guess you could equate that to relationships as well. I mean, if you're a person who believes in love and believes that, the perfect soulmate is going to come to you, and you can manifest that with beautiful visualizations and, journaling and writing what you want, all of the things that I love and I do and I support. But at the same time, if you're just sitting in your house or you aren't, doing anything in order to meet that person, then I think, it's just not enough. And the data would show, if you haven't had a date in 6 months, that you need to do something else in addition to the positive beliefs, which are necessary and wonderful. I hope that makes any sense. I feel like sometimes people feel like, yeah, I'm doing all the abundance work. I'm doing all the mindset work. I'm doing all kinds of work around money and in my relationship with money. And you still have to use the data to inform you as to whether you're successful or whether you have to take some different steps and take some actions. And they work together. The action taking and the mindset all works together. So I think the opposite myth is that if I read enough books and I learn enough about, finances, and I know everything that you're supposed to do, that's going to work for me. That's not true either, because you have these beliefs and these expectations about yourself that will trip you up. So you can know everything. That's how I got into this, because I knew a lot and certain things weren't happening in my life. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I realized it was me. It was my belief systems around things that were driving certain behaviors that were resulting in a lack of financial security and goodness. So those are two important things that, you cannot really have one without the other. So learning about money is super important. Taking action is super important. The belief systems are really important. And lastly is this idea that if I, it kind of goes along with the other one. If I know enough about money, that's going to be enough. And what I'm going to say to that is knowing about money is about 50% of it. Knowing about yourself, where you come from, what your ideas are around money, what you think is right and wrong, what you imagine people with money are like or not like, all of that has to be really uncovered for you to have this great relationship with money. It is no different than a relationship with, a person out there. If you don't know very much about yourself, it's going to be really hard to have a great relationship. You really need to know yourself first, and then understand kind of the ins and outs of how to create a great relationship. How do we communicate? How do we do all these things? And then it's going to work for you. Exactly the same for money. So yes, go read the finance books and learn as much as you can, but spend some time with a coach, a therapist, whatever it is that you need, journaling, learning about yourself so that you can see what you do or don't do with money that even if you know what it is you should be doing, you're not going to do. So that's a big myth that one or the other will work on its own for you. Sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? But it's not. And it's actually really rewarding to build this relationship with money. It gives you a lot of confidence. It gives you a lot of peace of mind, and really helps you understand on a deeper level where you want to go with this. Because we throw a lot of little, platitudes out there about what we want with money, and that's not necessarily true either. We do the same with people. So we want to really look at what we're doing. And lastly, with money, there are really as we create this money plan, there are really 4 things that are super crucial. One is learning. So learning about money and finance and how to manage things and how to keep what you're earning and all of that good stuff, how to earn more. So there's a whole set of skills to learn. There's a whole set of mindset ideas and skills to learn. Then there's the application, actually applying it. This is where we take action. This is where we start doing things. A myth here is that you shouldn't start applying anything until you understand it really well. I would say you learn a lot by doing. So start applying some of these things so you can see how they work, whether that's investing or saving or paying off debt or whatever it is. Start doing it as quickly as possible. Learn something, then start applying. then you can leverage some of these things. So you're seeing results, you're getting better. Then you can start leveraging some of these skills and these mindsets and go a little bigger. Maybe it's time now to buy some real estate or start investing in some other way. Then you adjust, just like we talked about before with a plan. Adjust all of it. Keep your eye on it. Exactly the same as a regular relationship. Pay attention. Where's it at now? How am I feeling? How is the other person feeling? And how can we adjust our relationship to be better? So again, you're constantly kind of recycling through this, learning skills, applying skills, leveraging skills, and adjusting skills. And if you continue to do that, you will see so much growth in yourself and in your financial life. And it will really be a financial life of health and well-being in a financial sense and in a regular sense of just feeling good and feeling healthy and in a state of well-being as a person, because the two are very much intertwined. So that's our little show on myths with money. There are many more, but for today, that's it. And if you want to learn more about how to manage your money, I have my next money dating course coming up in September 19th. Connect with me if you're interested in that. It's a 12-week course where we go through lots and lots of mindset, as well as lots and lots of action taking. And you will gain the knowledge and the learning, and you'll be applying to a point where you will really be feeling connected to your money and like you're building a really good relationship. From there, you can start leveraging and adjusting. Okay, thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.